All right, thank you, Ed, and thanks to you for tuning in. We start tonight with breaking news. Any minute now, President Obama will arrive in Philadelphia on board Air Force One, where he'll address House Democrats tonight at their three-day retreat. The big theme, fighting income inequality head-on. This morning, the president published a preview of his remarks, writing, quote, "In order to get wages and incomes rising faster, we need to take the next step," and promising to reveal a new budget next week aimed at, quote, "bringing middle-class economics into the 21st century. The budget will fully roll back those devastating cuts to domestic programs forced by the GOP Congress in 2013 while closing tax loopholes for the top 1%. This is a president in fighting mode. Today, the Republican Senate passed a bill to approve the controversial Keystone Pipeline. But the president has already said if it gets to his desk, he'll veto it. He's not going to let them control the agenda. And anyway, what is their agenda? Here's Speaker John Boehner from last night.
This is the president violating the Constitution, violating his oath of office. It's about the Constitution. It's about the rule of law. We have 47 new members of Congress on the Republican side who've never had the chance to cast their vote to repeal Obamacare. The economy's a little better. I'm not going to deny that, but he shouldn't be taking credit for it.
Lawsuits, repeal votes, and petty attacks. It's not an agenda, it's the Tea Party's greatest hits. I wonder why.
Listen, I was the Tea Party before there was a Tea Party. I understand their concerns. I understand their frustrations.
I guess if the speaker thinks if you can't beat them, join them. But tonight, the president will lay out a vision that goes right around them. Joining me now are Jason Johnson and MSNBC's Abby Huntsman. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks, Rev.
Good evening, Rev.
So, Jason, does the country want a focus on jobs and fairness or lawsuits and repealing Obamacare?
My guess is people probably care a bit more about jobs. The Republicans should have learned last fall that impeachment, lawsuits against the president, none of these things are exciting. And the president has realized, look, I'm riding high now. The economy's doing well. He has the best approval he's had in years. He actually has higher approval today than Reagan had at this point in his second term. And Obama's really just going to push through all the progressive agenda things that he said he was going to do over the last 6 years. So it's clear that the public is in favor of what the president wants. Maybe Congress will eventually listen.
Abby, you know, Speaker Boehner said he can't take President Obama's plan to roll back the budget cuts known as sequestration seriously. But GOP Senator John McCain said, quote, "I think it's unanimous, the view that sequestration is a meat axe. I'm willing to do a number of things in order to prevent sequestration from
it's a tough word.
Moving." I always twist it, probably because I don't want it in the discussion. But anyway, from moving forward. So some Republicans appear to be open to hearing the president. Why is Speaker Boehner dismissing it out of hand?
Yeah, I still am trying to figure out what he meant by saying I was the Tea Party before there was a Tea Party. Yeah. I'm not even sure what that means. But you have John McCain, who I think speaks for a number of Republicans that realize they've got to get their message right when it comes to the middle class and how we move forward as a country with our economy. The Senate's going to have to be the adults in the room because the president has put forward his plan. It's not going to go anywhere. Republicans are not going to sign off on that, as you said. But now they're in a position where they have to put forward their ideas. What are they going to do? And I think that's the big question is if they are talking about being the voice for the middle class, we've heard a lot of them say that the economy is doing better. They admit that, but the middle class is still struggling. If they are going to be the voice for that, then what are they putting forward that lets people believe they are actually speaking for them?
But aside from the differences on sequestration, what about him saying, Boehner, saying that he was a Tea Party before the Tea Party. I mean, as a Republican, how do you, I mean, what do you make of that?
I think what he's trying to say is I've always been a conservative and I'm really for these cuts. But if you remember, the Tea Party was different than the Tea Party that we see today. It was originated to be fiscally conservative, right? I talked to a number of folks that were part of that movement, and they say today they want nothing to do with the Tea Party. It's turned into a totally different movement. I'm not sure what he's trying to get at that, but clearly I don't think he's in step with a lot of other Republicans, more moderate Republicans, and he's not thinking about 2016. What are you doing today that's going to impact 2016?
Jason, here's what GOP Congressman Bill Schuster said about the president's plan for free community colleges. Listen.
The free community college education for folks. I mean, where's that coming from?
Well, look, the president believes that the federal government has the answers for everything. It's the nanny state.
I mean, how can House Republicans be credible on income equality, Jason, if they make comments like that?
Oh, you can even step back further, Rev. I was amazed during the State of the Union when the president said we should have equal pay and sick leave, and there were Republicans who didn't stand up. You can't rebrand yourself as the middle-class party if you're against basic things like people being able to get paid sick leave. But I think the issue is this, and a lot of independents have this concern. How are you going to pay for 2 free years of community college? Now, the president has a plan. I think it's something that the Republicans should listen to, but I think on that particular policy issue, there are a lot of people who wonder how that can be paid for and logistically how you would turn that into a national policy.
Right.
But, you know, Abby, last night in a speech in Mississippi, Mitt Romney said he's focused on income inequality. Quote, "I want to help the poor and the middle class in this country. We need to lift people out of poverty. Almost every week during my campaign, I met folks who had fallen into poverty." Did he meet those people on the campaign trail before or after he talked about the 47%, Abby?
First of all, I still can't wrap my head around the fact that he's running again. I mean, that to me is still so crazy. You know, it's interesting because Republicans...
So you do think he is running? I do think he's running. I think he's the only one. He thinks he's the only one that can beat Jeb Bush, which is why he's probably getting in there. He probably thinks he's the only one out of anyone that can be president. So I do believe he's running. Do you think he can beat Jeb Bush for the nomination? No, I don't. I think it'll be very interesting. They're very different. So, you know, time will tell, and a lot depends on where the money goes. But like that 47% comment, we already know Romney. You know, he's already introduced himself to the country 2 times now. And it's interesting, though, because you have all the candidates now trying to own this inequality message. Ted Cruz says the 47% comment is going to hurt him the most because it's the 47% we need to be talking to. I mean, that's Ted Cruz speaking about that. So I do give credit to Republicans for at least acknowledging this is important. They jumped off the cliff. They just don't have any place to land yet. Jason, but they came kicking and screaming. I mean, they were the ones that were acting like we were being divisive, that we were polarizing the country. Now they're adopting a theme and trying to redo it like it's theirs.
Yeah, I love it. It's sort of like when you had Kentucky Fried Chicken, and they're like, no, we're kitchen fresh chicken. We're fooling everybody. It's healthy now. Like, no one's going to believe that. You know, the Republicans can rebrand themselves when they have a policy that matches the rhetoric. I will never forget Mitt Romney coming out and saying, he was speaking in Michigan. He's like, yeah, I know a lot about NASCAR. I have friends who own NASCAR teams. Yeah. That's not how you connect with the middle class, and the Republicans need policies.
A little friendly $10,000 bet wasn't exactly 47%. I want to switch quickly, Abby, to the House GOP's decision to invite the Israeli Prime Minister to address Congress. The New York Times writes, it's backfiring, and that has had, quote, the unintended effect of helping the president rally Democrats as his administration negotiates a delicate nuclear deal with Iran. Now, we already knew House Republicans broke protocol. Did they also hurt themselves politically with Boehner inviting Prime Minister Netanyahu? Yeah, I think it's a really bad situation. I don't know who's winning out of this. I can't imagine Speaker Boehner's patting himself on the back saying this was a job well done. Because, I mean, folks back in Israel are really upset about this, too. As you said, this is a really important time. Race there. It's a tight race, and this is one of the most important relationships that we have. I mean, imagine if this were the president of China that we did this to. All right? I mean, this is really important stuff. And I think it sets a bad precedent moving forward about how we do diplomacy here in the United States. And I think it's quite concerning, and it's all about politics, and the rest of the world is watching. I don't think it's the right place to be right now. Jason Johnson, Abby Huntsman, thank you both for your time tonight. Thanks, Rev.